SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Morning, people. Good morning, people. And as you see, Neil's missing. He is currently running up to the booth right now.
Maybe he is.
Not prepared, as maybe assumed.
He went to go get notes and then forgot them. He did come back with them.
Past Neil did a thing.
Uh-huh. He lost stuff.
Past Neil misplaced things.
Uh-huh.
That's an unfortunate reality of the process. Did you say good morning already?
I did say good morning.
Did you do a thing?
I did not introduce, so I was waiting for you.
Why did you not? Am I turning you up or am I turning myself up?
I don't know. That sounds better.
I'm not turning anybody up.
Oh, boy. That's a loaded question.
All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however, on this convoluted Monday. Happy month of the month, August 1st, episode 36 of the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. I am Neil with my beautiful, lovely,
Oh, boy.
highly desirable.
Oh, boy. Mad scientist Scott Brown / roll bar padding installer this morning.
Roll bar padding installer and flathead V8
Flathead's going for blood right now.
going for blood. Love-hate relationship. OMG.
You know, for coming in late, that was a beautiful intro. Just saying.
Thank you. I rehearse in the morning,
Oh, boy.
and I want to present a consistent and engaging intro for people when they're listening. Because obviously, there's really not much after the intro. It all goes downhill from there. All three people. That's okay. I mean, and I hopefully those three people find that interesting and engaging.
Chuck seems to enjoy it.
Well, and there are a couple other people who mention. My wife every day she goes, "Well, I should probably listen," and I'm like, I don't know. I'm still gonna. She's like, "Don't take that video or that picture, so that don't put that on the podcast." Like her trying to like karate kick down the door and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In sandals.
She was, yeah. I mean, folks, if as we normally do, Scott and I are at a point in our lives where we're building things other than Jeeps. Personally, we have big built, fun, crazy Jeeps. Actually, multiples of them, and we love Jeeps, but we're trying our hands at other things. So Scott's obviously the 36. If this is your first time, positively enthralled. Thanks, Chuck.
And Chuck got to see the studio this weekend. He was pretty excited about that. Him and his wife.
For sure. We could have done like a little cameo, had them like walk through the back and recorded it,
That would have been funny.
It would have been funny. So Scott's building the 36, and I am by my own hands building a house, which really I don't recommend anybody to do.
Hard pass.
But I have to mention, we have had just this most spectacular support, my wife and I, from friends of the business. So our friends and people that we've met specifically through SFJ 4x4.
It's always a great experience. It's just you find out why it costs so much to do this kind of stuff.
You find out why it costs so much. You find why it takes so long. All of the inconsistencies in the actual build process. It reminds me
why
very
all
much.
the people are like, you shouldn't do that, and you're like, meh.
Nah, I've got this.
Yeah.
And so a big shout out. So I mean, we've had one of our friends through the business, customer friend. He's come out 2 weekends now. We've had another one come out 2 or 3 times. So I mean, it's just awesome, and they're lending their tools and their support and their knowledge base. And it's not quite a tiny house. Tiny house, there is no.
Well, it's a Simpson tiny house.
It's a Simpson, right? So it's 700 plus square feet, but now we're up to 12-foot ceilings with cathedral vault with double lofts and.
Yep.
So I mean, it's just a glorified trailer, but scratch built at this point.
Yeah. Kept the floor. That's what's important.
We did. We kept the floor. We kept the foundation. The foundation was good, right? And a big shout out because I got to experience. So Jason has come out a couple times, and Kevin's come out a couple times. But Jason brought a Makita oscillating tool.
Yes.
And you know
it's
how
inspirational.
It is
It's a religious
inspirational
experience.
So he says to me at the end of the day, Saturday, he goes, you know, you use this a couple times. You want me to hold on to it till next weekend? I was like, yes. Yes. So he handed off a whole tool bag with batteries and his oscillating
There's
tool.
all the accessories for that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying
sand
to
with it and cut with it.
What jobs can I get done? You know, after
I'm gonna
work.
fuse it with sheet metal here soon.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. As soon as the motor's sealed up a little bit, I'm gonna try to cut a sheet metal piece on my floor with it.
Oh.
Yeah, that may not go well. I don't know.
It's got metal blades. It's just it goes through those blades so fast.
Watched a TikTok or a reel this morning. It wasn't a TikTok. It was Instagram. I don't know what the difference is. And they were showing the difference, those oscillating tools between like the let's call it what it is, the Harbor Freight blade and the $12, the $12 specialty blade, and it just rips through stuff. So maybe invest in the blade.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay.
I have Milwaukee blades.
Okay.
We'll see.
It was like 40 something for a pack of 5 blades.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I already used a metal blade on screws on the camper, and it didn't survive very well. So this may be interesting.
Whatever's blades on there, I mean, this thing ripped through.
Maybe I need to get some Makita blades.
Yeah,
that's a nice thing. Is everything interchanges.
Yes,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like a 4.5-inch cutoff wheel or grinder. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that shank, as long as your shank size is the same, everything kind of puts in there. So anyways, we'll talk a little bit further about that, folks. But we're going to be beating this final topic into submission of Lightbars and Lockers. Today we're gonna attempt to wrap this series up. Just so that you don't have to hear us.
I just have to rail Neil back.
Well, I get so excited. And then we're supposed to be talking about the product situated behind. See, you are a lovely Vanna White for us, Scott. So if those of you who are listening in on your favorite streaming platform, thank you for joining us. He's always doing the hands.
Yeah. Well, and this one's on a swivel, Scott. You can go back there and spin it around.
Yeah, I don't want to upset the thing that shall not be named that's sitting on it.
There's no thing back there. And we will be talking. So it's in the dark. We can't really see it that well if you're watching, but it's there. And that is the Falken Wild Peak AT3 tire, which is a big favorite of mine.
Going on a cool build in the shop.
It is. Yeah, that Jeep got dropped off over the weekend. And so we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to do a little bit of what's going on in the Jeep community as a whole right now. So that's what's going to be happening in episode number 36. And it's important for you to remember that we have a new podcast channel on YouTube, I Speak Jeep podcast channel, specifically to catalog our podcast. So make sure you head over there, like and subscribe. We're not really doing a huge push of like and subscribe on that channel because we're trying to focus our energies on the original SFJ 4x4 TV channel to round that out. But we want to make sure that the other channel has those followers and populates in the searches so that you can find that material, watch the silly videos, and see Scott in all his glory with his Vanna White hands. So, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about regarding the 36 and how it's hurt you recently?
So I've been trying to put this motor together, and I'm doing it on a shoestring budget. And flatheads are very expensive. For those that don't know, rebuilt, this fully dressed flathead is like $10,000, easy. You see them all the time listed for that. So
I mean, okay, wait a second, because you and I had a personal conversation over the weekend about antiquated technologies, and the value of them, And really, if we just take one moment and you think about a fully dressed flathead V8,
so fully
at
dressed
$10,000
means aftermarket heads, camshaft upgrade, multiple carb intake, carburetors are on it, air cleaners are on there. To give you an idea, air cleaners can run anywhere from $150 to $500, and if they're really special, $1,000 just for air cleaners.
Air cleaners?
Just for air cleaners.
On a V8?
Yes.
On a flathead V8?
Yes.
From the 30s?
Yes.
40s?
Yes.
Yep. That makes 110 horsepower.
Topped up.
I mean,
it was 85 stock.
It is a V8 online. At 110 horsepower.
Yes. Yeah, 150 if you're really moving and shaking.
Why? Why would I do this?
It's an 8-cylinder Briggs & Stratton, people.
Why would you do that? It's an 8-cylinder big Briggs & Stratton.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do this?
Because it's cool.
Yeah.
That's true. I grew up, and I was a young man. I had no idea what things cost or what it took to do it.
Yep.
And I saw these, 32, or we call them in the hot rod industry a deuce.
Yep.
And it had a flathead in it. Full dress is what they call when it's got the finned heads and the multiple carburetors. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yep.
And as a young man, there was this die cast put out that was 3 flavors of 32 Ford Roadster. And they made one that had white walls and bias plies, a flathead, multiple carbs that was black with a red interior. They had a hot rod or a street rod one that had like a blown big block in it, wide tires in the back. It was yellow. That was, of course, the one my dad got. I want to say there was one more after that. And I still have that black die cast.
Really?
And so from an early age, I've always really appreciated these, but I always thought, oh, it's so expensive, I can't do it, which was probably true.
Which is probably still true, like me building a house. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I understand.
But, this guy over here always,
reach for the stars, man.
Reach for the stars. Do what you can. So I put $3,000 into a motor over time, and now I'm at the push where I need to make it actually look like a motor.
You're at the tipping point, for
and,
sure.
To save money, I was going to do the valve train myself, which, it's kind of like putting studs up on a house and rafters that you've never done before.
Yep.
So I'm going to make mistakes, and one of these things, not to completely bore you, but there's 3 flavors of flathead. I took out the early one that was low horsepower and you can't upgrade. I got the middle one that's going in that's rebuilt. And then the last one is really the most popular, and that's into almost the 50s.
Okay.
And the crankshaft in that is superior to what my middle one had. But they also changed stuff. And it's kind of like a Jeep, where as long as you have all the right parts of the recipe, they all interchange. But you have to have the right parts, and you have to know what parts you need to make everything coexist happily. And because I picked the middle one, I can run accessory drive that will play nice with my car.
With the older model car.
And it'll just bolt in as the water pumps and accessories are part of the motor mounts on that. And we had a little miscommunication between the engine shop and me, plus I didn't completely understand or didn't know what I didn't know. And the late model has a 2-piece design for the front pulley, where it has a sleeve that the seal rides on and then the pulley is separate. And on mine, it's all one piece. And I thought, well, so the mechanic or engine shop put the sleeve on, put it all together, oil pans on. It's pretty. It looks great. I'm excited. I go to put the pulley on. I'm going, nope, there's something already there. What is that? So I start researching and find out the difference. And then I'm like, well, I'll just cut that off. So I have a buddy machine that off, and it's not lined up. And so then I look at it, and it's a step, how they machined it. It goes down and up and then down again, and I would remove the down again if we machine it more, and I have to in order to get it on enough to line up with the pulley on the water pump. So that means that you then have to buy a 1940s pulley that's in good shape with a good seal surface that they don't reproduce.
And then ruin it.
Well, no, I already ruined my original one that came out of the engine.
Okay.
So I had to replace it, which then meant I had to pull the oil pan and the timing cover back off the engine, ruining those gaskets, which are, if you needed to know, those are on national back order for some reason right now. So there's that.
Hot rodding. For years, you've talked about, what happens when hot rodding, right?
Yes.
Mixing and matching.
So I finally got the sleeve off. The sleeve is no longer with us. It did not survive the journey. I sliced my fingers wide open. Amy had to do doctor on me. And kind of licked my wounds. I put the motor in a bag, and I was like mad at it for a while. And then the last thing I did is I had to put the springs, the retainers, and the valve guides on the flathead. They're separate. So you normally on a V8 overhead valve, you have to put them on the head and assemble everything. Well, on a flathead, you put it all together as a unit, and then it drops into the motor as an assembly. So I did that on my couch in the AC watching a movie with my kids.
Nice.
Because I have a wonderful wife, and she allows me to do stupid car projects in the house.
Car projects on the couch, at the coffee table, during family time watching movies,
Yes.
assembling your valve train.
Yes.
Nice.
That probably did wrong, but we'll find out.
Wait, right? Well, and I honestly, I come back to the idea of like, why would you do this? And I too am struggling with the power plant for Old Blue.
Yes.
Because on one hand, I would love the reliability of what we're able to do with modern V8 swaps and that kind of stuff, and yet the idea of a period correct hopped up four banger or a Dauntless.
It's really hard to quantify unless you own a vintage thing, and you're in a group, that grouping, and we're really in the hardcore old people group is when you're in this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, you just put a V8 in it, huh? And they just kind of are quiet. And you were smart financially because you can buy a small block Chevy for $1,000 and it's running, or you can put $4,000 in your 134.
Yes,
flatheads.
Correct. Correct, and that's the thing, and that 134 will still make
60 horsepower,
about 65 horsepower with a stiff wind at your back.
Yes,
and it will go a max speed of 51 miles
God
per hour.
God forbid you have any issues with cooling or space the whole time they're involved, because they're gonna be like, well, you had to put that V8 in it. That's why it's hot.
Yes,
it's really impractical now.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry, I made good choices.
Made good choices at that point. We have a customer who just called and he said he got a deal on a TJ with a small block put in it, and I thought to myself, he was headed out to pick it up, and I thought, I hope that you still feel good about this deal in a couple weeks. You know what I mean? I don't know, but and it wasn't an LS.
Nope.
It was a genuine carbureted.
Oh boy.
Small block Chevy.
That has its issues.
Oh,
because that was not carbureted from the factory.
I don't know. I don't know if what he's actually getting, what he's not. We'll see. Time will tell. So, anywho, Jeffrey, what colors? Since you like colors, you're in the blue Jeep crew that they debate over ocean blue and hydro blue on a regular basis.
Oh, they're gonna be debating over this one too.
I know. You said those colors. So, folks,
let's not be any greens, because the green has been very quiet.
Green
so there is
has been
still going
quiet.
to be a Sarge green for 23.
Yes. So
I knew you'd love that.
Jeep has recently released a little bit of tidbits of information. We've got colors coming out, and finally, I mean, if the article is correct, I read an article that the High Tide is finally actually in production. So what's going on in the mothership news?
So colors for 23 were released recently, and the colors are Earl, which is supposed to be
Earl Grey.
Earl Grey tea.
It's a gray. It's a gray. Just so we all, I've said it now.
It's gonna
put me on record.
I'm going to tell you right now that Blue Jeep Crew's going to accept this, and I don't agree, but there it is.
Oh,
that looks silver.
I see the blue hue.
Here, we'll open it a little bit.
I see the blue hue.
It looks silver.
But gray, Earl Grey tea is just
it's almost white.
A hair step from. What do you see that's white there?
I think you're looking at the coloring of that display, because if you look over at this display, it's definitely got some different hues to it.
That's a little more blue.
Yeah. So
it's like you had white and you accidentally had your 5-year-old daughter and she walked by with blue and it dripped like 3 drops in the white. That's what it looks like to me.
Maybe. So
interesting. Earl, I don't see how that's Earl Grey.
I don't either.
Earl. I'm sorry. It's not actually
it's
Earl
just
Grey.
Earl, but
it's Earl. But you know what? The branding and folks, on a financial, on a business standpoint, that's right. We're talking about it, so here we are. But I'm a big proponent of business of saying what you mean and meaning what you say, in the sense that your branding represents what you have out there, right? And so if you name something Earl, and I don't know, the whole world associates it with Earl Grey.
That or the Dixie Chick song.
That's true. Very true. My name is Earl came up in my head. that TV series. I
Neil's
think, you're,
done.
I think you're the only one that knows what that there's an Earl Grey. I had no idea before this conversation.
Wait, really? No, it's Earl Grey tea.
No idea. It's not in the flathead world, I'm telling you.
So, anyways,
Go,
I
go
think-
crawl back under a Jeep.
I think
Go-
I think Jeep was trying to go with more of a royal theme between the Earl and then Rain is their new
It's
purple,
Purple.
which is
Or-
royal purple.
or it's
Not-
just
not
a
really.
tribute to Prince.
Yes, that could be too.
Purple rain.
And then the three turned off. I actually kind of like the purple.
Rain. And
And it's-
Rain?
No, Reign,
Really
the royal rain.
royal. Fascinating.
Limited known fact, because I'll admit, because I'm a secure guy, my bedroom in growing up was purple.
Oh, interesting. But by choice or by
Was it purple or was it lavender? Because lavender is actually supposed to be really good for bedroom.
What are we talking about here?
They should, yes, Duke should order an Earl Grey ale.
Nice.
Duke of Earl.
Why are we talking about lavender in
It
our
was more of a
bedrooms?
lavender on the walls, and the trim was a darker purple.
Oh, okay. Oh my god.
So lavender actually is associated with helping sleep,
Yeah,
calming you.
very
So it's actually
relaxing.
yeah.
So now you know when you paint your
I
walls
have-
at your house.
in my
you
bedroom,
need
I have a
calming
bright
colors.
red wall.
That's why you're so intense.
And that's also why you don't sleep.
There's a lot of life to live. All right. Maybe I need some lavender in my life.
Yes.
Wow. I dig their branding in the rain. I think that's kind of neat. Also, it's one of the words I use for Wordle when I start my Wordle game.
Oh, is it?
No.
I do. I use rain, R-E-I-G-N.
See, I use two words: purse and chain.
Oh, fruit and ocean are also good. What was yours? Purse?
Purse and chain.
And
This must be
chain.
what people do when
I
they're not
like
working on
chain.
flatheads. Is
That's
do this.
That's right.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Wordle, man. I mean, it's Wordle. And here's the thing, and I'm going to get on my soapbox. One last moment here, in the sense that I have been playing the New York Times mini crossword for decades. And I was cool on the New York's mini crossword, and all of you jumping on the Wordle bus are just fair weather fans.
This must be what you and your family keep posting about on Facebook.
Well, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we're competitive natured
Of course you are.
individuals through all aspects of life.
I didn't know you could be competitive with word.
With
search.
word games,
Absolutely.
and crossword puzzles.
and
Who
Sudoku.
knew?
Sudoku. All right. So all that's fantastic. I recently read an article, and I know months ago we teased that the mothership was releasing the High Tide trim package. I believe in 22, and it was at Jeep Beach for on display. And what the article I just read today was that, and I don't actually understand it. So if anybody wants to, comment, tell us what they think is going on, that'd be great. But for some reason, there's going to be this production of High Tide, and I'll talk about High Tide in just a hot second here. But the first 500 are going to be called Beach. But you can get it in Hydro Blue or Velocity and all those other colors anyway. So I don't quite understand why you get this
'Cause life's
fun
a
little
beach, man.
trim package called Beach. I don't know. But the really cool thing about the High Tide is that it basically Jeep has entered a new. So, oh my gosh. So for a period of time, we've had Rubicons and we have Saharas, and then we have Sports, right? And
It's actually limited to beach colors, just to clarify.
it's limited to beach colors.
None of those
Blue.
remind me of a beach, other than maybe the blue a little bit. Yellow for the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get black and gray as a beach color?
Sand.
Nope.
Sand and rocks. The
Sand
bottom of
is
the
brown.
ocean.
Well, here it's brown.
So So Jeffrey has pulled it up on one of the production monitors, and he's showing us, some of the trim packages from Mothership and what she has offered us. What I think is really cool is, again, for the longest time we've had these specific, what I used to call sticker packages, and then sticker packages evolved into actual components that made a difference with your vehicle. And then
they've been doing this in CJ world
without question, right? And most recently with the Max Recon, you can get just a gnarly built Jeep from the factory, and
that you should totally bring those and have us put 40s on it because those 35s aren't adequate.
They're insufficient at that point.
Yes.
So the High Tide does come with beadlock capable wheel.
Yeah, so the High Tide is related to the Max Recon package.
And they're 35s, yeah.
Yep.
Which
So you're getting
totally
456
inadequate.
gears. You're getting, but see, the difference is like with the Rubicon's still getting you the electronic sway bar disconnect and true lockers front and rear. And Max Recon doesn't exactly get you those things. So still a difference there. And apparently, like I said, the 500 pre-orders, orders, production models, they all get like a special little sticker. You get
Do those people have to wait while the other people go and buy it?
I don't know. The market is so nuts right now. I don't know. So, well, without further ado, we should transition, and because once you buy it, then you're going to want to come back and you're going to want to put light bars on it.
Yeah.
And
Do they have lockers on those?
Well, no, that's what I was saying.
Oh,
Like
then
they
you
don't
shouldn't
have
do that.
lockers,
No.
right? And that is the last piece of the equation.
Yeah. You have to get a pass from us that says I have a locker. Now I can get a light bar.
We should make a little badge.
You should.
We should make our own badge. It
Why
says
aren't we doing this
lockers
already?
before light bars?
It does have an anti-spin differential rear axle in the High Tide.
Dave just put 4,000 miles on my Glider 37s in 11 days.
God bless you.
Okay, Dave. I hope the seat was comfortable, man. Holy cow.
That's a bit of driving,
How
huh?
many hours a day I mean, I did, you know what, when I drove down from Alaska, I did something very similar, Dave, but I also drove through the night like 5 times. I was very similar, and Alaska was about 4,000 miles. Of course, those of you who have watched for any period of time know that I lit the truck on fire in Chicago and then had to get a U-Haul and blah, 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 blah. Appreciate my motorcycle in the mountains. Yeah, the Gladiator probably was dogging a little bit, 37s in the mountains. Dave, you should tell us where you went, because that's
Yeah,
really,
we
that's
need
a
to know
lot of
more.
miles. So that's like to California, man, and maybe a little bit back. That's a lot of miles. So, anywho, we should badge and say, I got my lockers. Now I get light bars, And
Yes.
if you have a Rubicon, you just come in with lockers. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. We can put light bars on at that point.
Yes.
But one of the interesting pieces, I recently had an opportunity to talk with a customer. We have, in our conversation, we've talked about our umbrella of traction devices. And talking about the anti-spin rear, I think that specific technology, so unless it actually says limited slip rear differential, which it didn't, and of course they could be playing word games on us, but the anti-slip technology was released under the JK, and it actually has to do with proportioning the brakes in order to activate and independently activate braking at each corner. So when a wheel speed sensor...
So Cliff Notes is magic. When the computer does magic.
It's Jeep magic.
Yes.
It's Jeep magic. And we've... somewhere there's a video of Scott with this happening. So...
Yes.
For
My JK has magic.
so when so if you're not aware, right, and the JKs and the JLs have this specifically, and it is, so wait a second, Dave has weighed in here. In Kentucky, Tennessee, I'm not smart enough, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, West Virginia, Ohio, back to Indiana.
Wow.
Sounds
Sounds like
That's a
when we
bit of
went to the
driving.
ocean.
That is awesome. That is a great loop.
Yes.
Man, am I jealous. If I wasn't building this house, I'd be on the road somewhere. I had the best time being a frustrated over-the-road trucker the other day, and I look forward to my next excursion. Which reminds me, I hauled an inappropriately huge playset over the weekend, which
Yeah.
we didn't even touch base on.
Why did I not know about this?
And it was so huge, folks. We used a crane truck to
That's the way to do it.
load
Dave.
it on and off of the truck and trailer.
My trailer?
Yeah, your trailer.
Oh, okay. Find it out when I find out, guys. And then he wonders why he breaks my stuff all the time.
I don't, but then I have to repair it, or I have to replace it, and that's as frustrating as possible. Dave weighs in and says he was topless. Hopefully, you and the Jeep were topless the whole time, Dave. That's
It's the only way to do it.
that's the way to do it, right? Soak up all that vitamin D, rain and shine. Man, I had my wife and I took a trip like that. We were like 19 down to the Carolinas in 95 YJ. Awesome experience. Everybody should take a trip where they don't take their top with them.
Nope.
Not you, Scott?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I hauled a way inappropriate fort. It was like this 20-year-old.
Did people have to follow you with flags? Or should they have followed you with flags?
Should they have followed with flags?
As I said it, and I was like, he didn't do that. So
My dad goes, all we have to do is put a banner that says wide load, right? And I was like, no.
it says that you have people trailing and behind you.
You know we convoyed. You know Dad was in the front
Did we
with
have
his
to
four-ways
pick-
on.
So we have to pick roads so we didn't hit things because
Scott,
of
how
clearance
long
issues.
have you known me? So yes, of course we did. I also avoided going through downtowns of any type of borough from here and there.
Well, that's what you
and
should
I'm
do.
totally not telling anybody where I was or
Oh, I think I know what happened now. Oh my God! How did you move that? You're talking about from one house to another house?
no.
Okay.
Not the one that I built, you mean?
Yeah.
No. That fort is still in place in the tree.
Okay.
No, we took this other one that was it was a commercially produced playhouse in about 20 years ago when
Okay.
there was this big push, and they're made out of like 6x6s and 8x8s and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And we came in. We started yesterday morning. Because of course I have nothing else to do but spend my
In your
entire
spare
day
time.
in my spare time, and we disassembled this. It has a catwalk and a ladder and a slide, like a 12-foot plus slide. Then it has one that has canopies up high, and then it goes like another. Well, it had to be 16 or 18 feet because it hung off the trailer. Beam that runs out the other direction with an A-frame for swings.
So
and
it's
stuff.
bigger than the house that
Yes.
you're building.
Correct. And we used the crane truck to come in and pull it off piece by piece while I unbolted it and everything.
So why aren't we using the crane truck to help build the house?
Well, I didn't know about the crane truck until recently. And then I was like, I need one of those.
Well, of course we do.
Like, why don't I have a crane truck yet?
Same reason we don't have a skid steer or mini.
I'm
X.
working on those. That's
we need a bucket truck too.
I'm in time. So
just to go back to the
we were talking
lockers.
about lockers.
Just to go back to lockers, anti-spin is the same as a LSD.
Well,
Interesting.
yes, that's what I would have said, but
I don't. So
the mothership does what she wants.
Is that Chrysler defining that?
It's everything.
I understand it's
I
everything
know,
else.
but Chrysler does
But
what she
I don't
wants.
care what everybody else says on Joogle. I'm talking about what does Mothership say anti-spin is? Is that their track lock, which is LSD, and not the kind that makes you see
This
dancing
is why we're
unicorns?
going to need to talk about this in another podcast.
Well, also the fact that we spent 35 minutes on just catching up on ridiculous
You
stuff
should
that
have
we've done.
put that into our update of what we did over the weekend.
Well, obviously I forgot that 12 hours of my day yesterday.
oh my God. I mean, inappropriately moving large things. I mean, how would we not talk about that?
I took a pic. Well, actually, my wife took a picture of it as we're going because one of the straps kind of may or may not have meh. We got
For
to
that,
use
you just
chainsaws.
screw it down to the belt.
We got to use chainsaws.
Of course.
We got to use power tools.
Should have used a multi-tool somewhere in there.
I didn't, but we could have. That would have been fantastic.
I just would have screwed that to the deck and just ran. What's straps for?
Strap it. Just to contextualize, we pulled a tape from the highest point down to the ground, And so I'm precariously up on this thing that's strapped to the trailer.
As you should be.
And I dropped the tape down to my dad. And I said, go ahead, tell me what the number is, And he goes, 13.4. And I go, and he's like, what should it be? And I was like, 13.6. We're good by 2 inches. We're great.
Sounds like we're RVing.
We're absolutely.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine.
Could just use the RV app
Oh, my
for
gosh.
directions.
Yes. All right. So that time we were talking about light bars and lockers. Now, while Jeffrey goes in and jugles for us, so what I thought we were talking about with anti-spin and the magic that Jeeps do now, and that's important to talk about with our conversation about lockers and why, with the release of the JK, and whether you know this or not, wheel stacking was cool before-ish.
But most people couldn't do it.
Most people couldn't do it.
Secret, there was ramps involved.
Correct. Without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
We were there when they were setting up at the Jeep events.
Yes.
There was ramps involved.
And what ends up happening is that the JK specifically makes the JK was so advanced that you could throw your crummy 4.5-inch lift on there that you shouldn't have put on, and whatever bargain basement tire, and it would just crawl right up on somebody else's tire.
Yeah. Especially on black pavement.
100%.
Yeah.
And so the Jeep was way more capable than the individual driving it. But then ultimately that helps as like it's a gateway, and then other cool things happen when people continue to push the envelope. Part of that technology is the fact that the JK specifically has something, and I don't know if it's the anti-spin or what the mothership's going to call it.
Magic.
And what ends up happening is you have integrated wheel speed sensors. In each corner, we have a wheel speed sensor, and then we have a highly intelligent body control monitor module. Thank you. That monitors those 4 wheel speed sensors. And as soon as it detects a little bit of wheel spin or slip, it immediately
Modulates the brakes.
Modulates. That is a great word.
Yeah.
Modulates the brakes.
So it's just applying a little bit and backing off a little bit and giving it a little bit. It's not like...
It's not locking it down,
Yep.
but it is actively engaging the one wheel that it sees slipping. And so that tire can't. Many people had that experience where you're on ice and that tire just kind of like lets loose and it's like, woo. Reasonably speaking, with the JK, that's not possible.
Somebody's going to be like, it happened to me.
I'm sure they are. But that's that modulation, that little small grabs or systemic grabs. The ABS pump is pumping, grabbing the brake rotor, and transferring traction to the wheel tire combo that currently is stuck. And so it helps you continue to move forward despite the fact that the differential is still technically open.
And you have crappy tires. I can attest to that.
So, do you want to tell us real quick what you did?
So I took my JK when it was bone stock with the stock sport Goodyears that were 42,000, 46,000 miles worn at that point to Southington. And I aired down the tires, and that was it.
Yes.
That was probably the only time I've ever aired down the tires at Southington. But anyway, and I used the TPMS thing on the gauge cluster to tell me when I was aired down and aired back up too, just because.
God, you're bougie.
Yeah.
You're so bougie.
Anyway, and it did things that stock Jeeps could not do up to my experience at that point. I've had CJs and TJs and driven YJs and all this kind of stuff. I pretty good, XJs. And there's certain things you can't do, and you'll go up and you'll lose traction, and you can feel the Jeep just lose, and then it'll come right back. That doesn't happen with the JK.
No.
It just keeps on trucking, and you're going to rub whatever you're going to rub and move about your life. And it was still, both bars were hooked up, sway bars were hooked up, drug the belly pan on stuff, rang the exhaust pipe off stuff, and it just kept on going forward.
And that was really the most remarkable thing. And I still have this very vivid memory of watching, the profile of your Jeep. And as you, again, like you said, your sway bars were still hooked up. It was a bone stock suspension.
Yep.
And I remember seeing
So
where
the 30-day plate on it.
So I remember watching your passenger side tire kind of drop down where it just barely skimmed. So your driver's side tire would have been stuffed,
Yep.
and your right tire just would have skimmed the kind of the obstacle that you were going over, and it started to spin up. And then I watched the brake proportion and close immediately, and that tire stopped. And you kept moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, the real crux of
Three-quarters
this...
of a rotation is about what it felt like, and bam, I was up on the obstacle.
And what is important and why it's so noticeable in stock tires is because what you have is rotational mass, right? And you're grabbing it at the rotational mass. And, of course, the stock tire, is much smaller than that oversized 35 or 37. So by the time you spin up that 35 or 37... if it starts to spin and then your brake tries to proportion, it still only has the ability to proportion. It's going to be the rotational mass is in excess of what it's able to clamp or grip at that point. So it made a much bigger difference on the stock tires.
Yeah.
But I would make the same contention they did with with the manuals, and they have such a heavy flywheel that they made it really hard to stall out, right? And so JKs, so they just kind of keep moving forward. Jeff, did you find from the mothership anti-spin versus...
I'm going to go with that they're being vague with intent.
Okay.
Because they do say anti-spin differential, which tells me that there is something in the differential. And what they're not telling you is which type is it? Is it viscous? Is it cone? Is it clutch?
Because for, the last 2 years have taught us you don't want to be exact.
Correct.
Because things change, and then you get people upset.
And I think that's why they're doing vague with intent, so that they can switch it out, still have some sort of LSD device in there, but...
Interesting.
Yep.
Cool. So as far as traction devices are concerned, and I just want
Who knew brakes were a traction device?
Correct. And so I wanted to kind of pivot back as we try to conclude this conversation a little bit and say that, and review, just to say that traction devices are what we are internally, we use the term traction device, but as common cultural nomenclature, people call lockers, right? And that is the umbrella for all of these traction devices that we find in our Jeep, stock and non-stock. We have, your true spool type action, which is just they're Lincoln locked. If you watch one of our Tech Tuesday videos recently, we had a bone stock TJ roll into the shop, and somebody had just filled the rear end with weld puddle and welded the side gears to the spiders. You have an actual mini spool, which inserts inside of your open carrier, and that's just basically two cogs that have no release mechanism.
It's a block of metal.
It's a block of metal. It does the same job as the weld. It just doesn't have the porosity that weld may develop, or if it's done on a impure area or surface. Contaminated area. So that's where you use that block of metal. Or there's a true spool. We see that more in our comp rigs, and that's basically the entire carrier is just a sleeve. Basically, it usually looks like a cone, and you just actual shaft insert in. So there's your spool, and that's just always locked, no options. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just rock and roll like a tractor. You then have your selectable lockers. And we've talked a number of things about selectable lockers as far as your Ox, your ARB, your Eatons, your Auburns, and where and what application you might find those used in. I was following somebody through the internet trail the other day. It was a specific shop. Oh, my gosh. I can't even remember where it was. I felt like it's the Carolinas. They're more like a drive line. They're going to work on Toyotas and Jeeps and full-size trucks and blah, 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 and they only use Oxes. And I thought, I
That's
can't
bold.
I can't get my hands on enough oxes.
Yeah.
And they do oxes, air, mechanical. They do the whole, they do the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like diesel people.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea. I was like, I don't know how I can get my hands on that many ox
They like
lockers.
mechanical things.
Without question, right? And I just think it's interesting how people's perceptions are oftentimes swayed by, hey, in my local area, this shop or this business runs a lot of ox.
Yeah.
I know when I opened up here in our area, there was a particular company who sold a specific brand of suspension and wheel tire and whatnot, and so everybody thought that was a standard. No,
Yes.
that's just what X, Y, and Z business sells.
Yep.
That's not an industry standard. That's just their house product,
Yep.
But anyways, we have the Ox, we have your Eaton E-Locker, your Auburn E-Locker, and your air lockers and your ARBs or your zips. And that basically is they are locked. They equally distribute power between your wheels and tires based on an activation mechanism. So whether it's mechanical, electric, or air, boom, she's locked. And then we run into a category of limited slip differentials, and that is in of itself a little bit of a an umbrella, because you end up having mechanical limited slip, your worm gear, your helical cut gears. Most famously is going to be your Detroit True Track. However, USA Standard does offer a competitor to that, and then your clutch based. Your clutch-based limited slips, which GM affectionately termed posi in the 70s, I think. 60s and 70s. And now, a lot of people generically refer to that clutch-driven limited slip as just a posi. So whatever your vehicle shows up in, you go, oh, yeah, I got a posi in the back. I thought it was interesting, Jeffrey, you said cone style, which is not really something we even talked about.
Correct.
I don't know that there's really a cone style differential in current production.
Not that I'm aware of, but that's basically what a quad track is.
It is. It's what a quadra-track is.
Which is 73 to 79 for those that aren't nerd out with
in
old
the
stuff
Jeep
like
world.
me.
Yeah, in the Jeep world. And so basically we have a rotational cones that kind of insert inside of each other.
Yep.
The more the cone triangles into the other one, the more traction it produces. It works very similar. Yeah, friction. Thank you. More friction it produces, and so on and so forth. There are inherent ups and downs to all of these mechanisms per their manufacturing. Some people will say they're serviceable or non-serviceable. They work forward. They don't work reverse. So on and so forth. Our job at SFJ has always been to try to independently present and educate consumers on how these things work, make base recommendations, but ultimately give you the tools to make the decision. And your last category, which we touched on last week, is what is commonly referred to as the lunchbox locker. And that is a mechanism that gets inserted inside of your carrier, and it has a spring-loaded release mechanism. And so as you go around a corner, you'll hear it ratchet or pop or whatever, and that's basically the cogs loading and unloading in their pressure against each other.
And then lastly, magic with brakes.
Magic with brakes, which may or may not be.
Which may make your early Jeepers angry and your newer Jeepers happy.
It certainly makes me angry, folks. I'm just going to talk about my insecurities for a guy who wheels a lot of vintage garbage that, just other people would not have on the road or on the trail. I have to work 10 times harder. I get off the trail with anytime I've wheeled some of the flat fenders or Old Blue, I'm
Feel the
exhausted.
burn.
My legs hurt. My core, I'm too big for this. Like, my core hurts because I'm having to shift and pick my lines. I'm having very intimate. Oh yeah, I have no power steering as well. That's just but you have to work 10 times harder to wheel some of that old vintage stuff in comparison to the pleasurable experience of wheeling, say a JK or a JL, JT.
Well, you haven't even experienced what the JTs can do now with the select speed for wheeling. You literally have cruise control for wheeling.
I always have this really uncomfortable conversation is that more than once now people have come in and they have bought a JK or traded in on a JL and they've only ever had an 07 and newer Jeep. And they're like, we got some extra cash. It'd be fun to have a vintage Jeep. And sadly, people, that I mean TJ and older for vintage. And they're like, it'd be fun to get one of those and we could, bebop around in and get ice cream and stuff. And I'm like, listen.
Whoa.
Take everything.
Pump the brakes.
Everything
Literally.
you know about Jeeps and throw it out the window.
I love that when they
What
go.
do you think about 33s? And they're always like, what?
33s? That's the stock tire. Yeah. Well, you're going to pay twice as much as you would on your TJ to put 33s on as you can just sneeze and put them on a JK.
Yeah.
I love that they're like, well, I don't want to. This one wheels so good, but I don't want to ruin it in the woods, so I'm going to get one of these older ones. I'm like, it wheels so good because of how it's designed.
Yes.
Like just invest in it and
Yes.
and enjoy yourself.
Just put that film on it that protects the paint that you can take off if you ever so desire and wheel it because
it's not the older stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And old stuff has its place and it's enjoyable and it's good and everyone should experience that at some point in their life before they buy one.
Oh, amen to that. And I love people that they get excited by the new platforms, and that's cool. I love the enthusiasm that they create. You just have to recognize the limitations of the older stuff.
Yeah.
In the process.
Take it with with a grain of salt kind of stuff.
So I have a. Back in like 15, I was right before you got yours. In fact, I think I know you were wheeling that really well-built XJ you had, which obviously you invested triple the amount of what it took to do a JK. And so we had the Angry Turtle.
Yes.
We were out wheeling. I was wheeling one of the flat fenders.
Yep.
And of course, I broke it.
Yep.
And I had to get drug out of the woods, and we went back in. And so I hopped in with the Angry Turtle, Jason driving the Angry Turtle.
And it's important to note, he doesn't like to drive his Jeep for most of the time. He wants everyone else to drive his Jeep and him to sit shotgun and laugh.
Yeah,
as you get it buried deeper and deeper.
That's true. The very first time we were at a thing, he tossed, after we got done building it for the first time around, he tossed me the keys and was like, hey, see if you can break it. And I was like, is this for real?
Yeah.
The way he's got that built, too, if you get in trouble with it, it's too late.
Oh, it's too late.
No, that's a true story right there.
So besides that, I did I hopped shotgun with him, but I get in with him, and like I said, I had been wheeling the 48, and it was hard work. I jumped in with him, and he had the AC on. He had the disconnects. And he just crawling along.
I will admit, I am
ratio.
soft, people. I love those feature comforts on my Jeep. That's why I like a roof, is I want the AC to stay in the vehicle. I remember a long time ago, we were wheeling, and it was
long time ago. That's a song.
It was getting into the weather we're getting into now, where it's really hot and sticky, and we're in the woods, and it's right in the heat of the day. And I had the LJ before, Neil put it on 40s, and I had the AC on so high in the woods that all these people around me are just dying. We had a CJ5 with a V8 and side pipes. He was dying. We had a YJ with the heater stuck on. He was dying.
The heater stuck on?
I had it on meat locker in the LJ.
Yes.
And I got out, and it was so humid, my glasses frosted over immediately.
Oh, no.
And they're like mad at me. I'm
right?
And my top's up, my doors are on, windows are up. They're over here just peeling layers off. Nope.
And the
That's
funny
how
thing
Scott
is,
wheels.
And we could talk about those experiences because those are fun. And actually, I had a customer reach out today, and he was talking about, well, I don't really go off road, and then he started to talk about all the off roading he does.
Right.
Which I love when people are like, well, I don't really off road, and then they start to tell me about all the off road they actually do. But somehow in their mind, unless it's a rock buggy,
yes.
Hitting an obstacle at 25 miles an hour. They're like, oh, it's not off-roading, And I'm like, no, like you're like tight technical trails and little crawling, like that's still off-road, and that's cool, you know. And we'll have to talk about how that differs in the future. But let me just circle back, close out lockers before light bars and so on and so forth. At some point in time, we'll actually talk about light bars for real. The last piece, and I thought this was interesting, somebody has an Aussie locker customer coming into us. The thing with the lunchbox lockers is they have, to this point, really not been approved for use in JKs because of that technology we were talking about. The magic.
Upsets the magic.
And Aussie / Torque Masters has recently released a product that actually does work as a lunchbox in the magic. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that they're still refining those products to continue to keep up with.
As they should, because as that platform ages, people are going to want to do old-fashioned things with it.
Absolutely. And affordable things, and right?
Yeah.
And so that's ultimately, true spooling aside, your selectable lockers are still, the most expensive option, because then you also have to figure out how to feed them. So whether the labor of running the cables for the auxes, the tie-in labor for the electric, or the added costs of air and onboard air with that selectable, not only is the locker more expensive, but so is the installation. Mechanicals are great. Set it, forget it, and enjoy yourself. If you go with a clutch-driven technology or the cone style, you do have to have a particular and special fluid that has to be added every single time you do a fluid exchange or clean out. And your most affordable is typically your lunchbox locker, but that technology has been, to this point, geared more towards your older technologies. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed lockers and light bars. It's certainly a passion of ours. If if you're watching us on YouTube, comment something down below and let us know what you have, what you wish you had. Obviously, Facebook family, we appreciate you being part of this conversation and asking
Now
questions.
they're all asleep.
And don't worry, guys. I won't let Neil talk about light bars or lockers next week.
I really like lockers and light bars.
4 episodes, though. I mean, we stretched this one out.
We stretched it. We rode that
that's
hard.
why everyone's
rode that
asleep.
horse hard. Jeffrey, do you want to take us into a little commercial and then do something?
Sure.
Hey, Jeep family, we hope that you're enjoying this content, and we want to make sure that you head over to sfj4x4.com, find some of this cool merchandise, give us a call at our facility, 440-813-3663. Option 1. And make sure that you tune in to our live podcast every Monday at 10:19 a.m. and check out our updates on YouTube on Tuesdays and Fridays. Until then, Jeep on.
And now it's time for our product spotlight. Spotlight.
Not sponsored.
But we would be okay if you did want
We're
to.
okay if you do. We're okay, right? And that's an appropriate thing. We keep bringing this unique content, and it keeps growing, and we appreciate everybody's participation, both on the viewership and the manufacturers who are taking notice of it. So thank you all for being part of that. Today we are talking about Falken Tires.
This
And
is something else that Neil could go on about, maybe 6 podcasts worth.
so
We're not going to let them.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. We are just going to do the most brief, easy overview.
So 2 podcasts worth?
I think we should do a podcast on them specifically in the near future. But today we have this. Oh man, I could totally talk about different tire umbrellas and okay.
We're
so
focusing on Falcon.
I know, but there's
Specifically the Wild Peak umbrella.
Get the train back on the rails. Back on the rails. All right, so the tire seated with us today in the studio is the Falken Wild Peak AT3. This is one of my favorite all-terrain tires on the market today. Falken is a product line that was reasonably released in the U.S. market within the last 20 years, or at least that's certainly when it took a strong hold. It at this point in time, I'm trying to go. How far into this do I want to go? Okay, at this point in time, I would argue that Falken is really one of the tire manufacturers that posed to take on the overall large-scale market in the next 10 years. And I say that specifically from we see their line of marketing and market relevancy just continue to increase year after year after year. There's not a lot of big fluff and stuff. They just make a flat-out good quality tire with proven tread designs. So much so that they are now the OE tire on quite a few of the big manufacturers' mainstream vehicles. And I could be totally mistaken, but I believe it is the JT Willys package that they are currently the stock tire manufacturer.
At least last I knew that was the case, and they've flirted back and forth with a couple different tires and tread designs with the Willys package. When I was really serious about getting rid of the JK and getting a Willys JT, they had Falcons on them then,
right?
And I think it was a mud terrain, which then I've seen all terrains on them after that. So,
yes, without question. So, both with their with their all-terrain and their mud terrain, they have started to take a stronghold in our market. There was a period of time about 4 years ago, a couple of years pre-COVID, that they actually had a comp tire out there that there's a bunch of guys out west who are just clamoring for. I haven't seen that tire teased in a long time, but we are seeing them move more into the mainstream, where they are competing for to be your original tire manufacturer. For us, interestingly enough, do you know how I arrived at running my first set of passenger Falken tires?
I do not, but I have a feeling you're going to tell us.
It has everything to do with you.
Oh, yes. Now I know.
So, and I'll contextualize
I did it because
this.
of cost, and then I got bit.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So what did you do?
I bought tires off Amazon, which I should
Now,
not
folks,
do.
this was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It was legitimately 6 years ago. Falken was not in all of the mainstream opportunities that we have here. They were a little lesser known. In fact, even in the off-road community, they were not well known.
Yep.
And so you buy a set of car tires for something.
For the Rambler.
For the Rambler?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep.
I
Pretty
didn't
sure.
realize that.
Yep.
I don't think so. I think it was
Because I got another set, and they're on the
no,
front.
because they're 17s. They're 16s or 17s. You don't run 16 or 17s on the Rambler.
Maybe it was for the Subaru.
It was the Saab.
But I think I did
Subaru.
it because of what I bought for the Rambler. Because the Rambler's front tires were that tread pattern that you like so much.
So, Scott orders a set of tires. This is, like I said, this could have been even more than 6 years ago. It was about 6 years ago, though. And he orders a set of tires on Amazon, inappropriately so. But, whatever. Falcon's on the upswing, and we can't get them internally yet, and blah, blah, blah. And he gets a notification that they've been delivered.
Which was a lie.
They had not been delivered.
And I watched them get delivered to my neighbor's house, which we talked about on another podcast, and you should go back and find it.
Exactly. But eventually, you get those tires back.
Yeah, like a month and a half, 2 months
At
later.
least 6 weeks, but probably closer to 10.
And life had changed.
And
or
life
I'd
had
replaced
changed.
them or got them. I don't remember.
So he sells them to me cheap.
Yeah. It
And
was egg on my face.
Yeah. You had already you had fought that fight,
Yeah.
and FedEx. I see you, FedEx. had been like, not our problem. And
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, I see you, Big Daddy FedEx. So they had already been like, nope, you have them. Our driver says we delivered them. You don't have any choice.
So quick PSA for those. I wish someone would have told me this. Don't ever insure something for more than you actually paid for it, because they're not paying you what actually it is when they lose it.
It's got to be the receipt.
Yeah.
It's the amount of the receipt of your initial transaction.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, we could go on like 4 podcasts about that too.
So, long story short, I buy these tires from Scott, and then they show back up, and the Subaru's gone, or I don't know.
remember.
It's not cool. It's sitting in the back, whatever.
Yep.
And I buy these tires. I stinking love these tires. I then go on over the last 6 years to put, this is specifically, they offer a dual tread tire for passenger vehicles. It is basically, it has kind of a standard interlock tread design on one side.
It's a car version of an MTR.
It is. So if you can think of the Goodyear MTRs, it is the passenger light-duty vehicle version of that. They used to be the ZX250. Now they're sold under the ZX950 line. I have put those on every single one of my loved ones' non-Jeep vehicles that you can imagine. My mom, my wife, my aunts, my sisters, so on and so forth. That is my go-to tire because it just flat out works and it lasts. And, you know, people are like, we don't make any more money on it. They don't, whatever. It's just a good tire. And so when I'm telling people, and then our customers are like, it's on my mom's vehicle. It's on my wife's. That's obviously, you know, my go-to.
And that's important. We use what we sell, and that's why we want to steer you into certain things, because we've had good experience with it.
Amen to that. We're going to call that one a day. A day, Jeffrey.
I think that's a good idea.
We're gonna
We
leave
could
it
go too
on
much
that.
further down the rabbit hole with this.
Mic drop. Folks, we appreciate you being part of the 4-part series of Lockers Before Lightbars, or Lightbars and Lockers, however you see fit. Make sure you go and you find these episodes on our new YouTube channel, on the I Speak Jeep podcast channel. If you're looking forward to supporting this podcast, we do have these groovy pictures available for $4.19. That supports this podcast directly, and we appreciate that. You can see Scott and my goofy face. You can wrap it on your toolbox, your coffee cup, your laptop, whatever.
It's vinyl, so it'll work out on the vehicle
and
too.
you should take a picture of wherever you've used it and tag us in it.
Oh, I love that. Well done, sir. And this will be up on Facebook for about 24 hours. It comes down so that you have to go over to our YouTube channel. But by Wednesday, it is on your favorite podcast streaming site. So iTunes, Spotify, Google, blah, blah, blah. So make sure you check that out. Audible, leave us a review and tell your friends how much fun you're having with us. All right, folks, if anything else, for the good of the order,
I think that's it.
speak now or forever hold your peace. Until next week, Monday at 10:19 a.m., Jeep on.
Keep on.